Hey, so obviously, I don't know if you guys know this, but it snowed here in Texas, and there's a big fat winter storm, and so everybody's pipes are freezing, and everybody's pipes are exploding. So this is one of my neighbor's house, and I won't say who, but it started raining water down through the ceiling, and then I guess it wasn't just water, but it was like iced tea. I don't know if it's sweet or not. I don't know.
It's non-sweet.
Yeah,
I tried it.
This is unsweet iced tea.
Definitely unsweet.
You know, like in Texas, I don't really drink tea that much. I hardly ever. But if you drink tea and then you find out that it's not sweet, and then it'll be like this, like, "Ugh!" And then they.
But if you put sugar in it, it's great.
Then it's fine. Yeah, you're just fine. Just dump like all the sugar in there, and then you're like, look, diabetes. All right. So anyway, a lot of you don't know what to do. First of all, you want to drip your faucets. That's super important. You want to leave your cabinet doors open. That's super important. You're probably going to, at this point, it looks like everybody's pipes are freezing anyway. So if they do start to break, then you want to go out to your street and turn the water off. You can call 911. I had another neighbor last night that called 911 and the fire department came and turned it off for her. But anyway, we're going to tear this open, and I'll show you kind of like what a frozen pipe looks like when it bursts. So we'll show you that, and hopefully you guys can get some. All right, so we got some of the ceiling. Sorry, let's see. Got some of the ceiling taken back, and then we found up above here. This is a cold water line right here.
Yep.
And then this over here is the hot water line, right? And so somebody tried to tap into that, which is illegal, and put in a fridge line. Not that I care, but this right here, that little thing, that's what happens. Is the pipe will freeze, and then it bursts the copper and it tears it, and then water comes spraying out of that. So the water's off right now, but what we're going to do is we're going to cut this, and then we're going to cut it, and then we're going to put some couplings in and repair that. So that's what we're fitting to do. All right. Okay. So that was the pipe that was burst. You can see where it froze and tore, and that's what it looks like. So that's usually what a frozen pipe looks like, is that it swells, and the water swells because it gets frozen, and then it makes a tear in it, and then that obviously water comes spraying out of there like crazy. So we took that out, and then we put on, we cut a bigger piece, and we put a shark pipe fitting here and some PEX and another shark pipe fitting. We turn the water on, and it is leak free, so that's good. And then obviously the sheetrock and everything will have to be repaired, insulate the pipe and stuff. And it turns out there's another leak somewhere else in the house. So sadly, this house has a bunch of leaks. So there, where the blue line is right there, that was our first leak that we found. Then there was one in the ceiling in the living room. We fixed that. Then there was two more in the ceiling in the living room, so we decided to cap off that shower for now so that they could use a different shower until the storm passes. And then we turned it on again, and then this hot water line, oops, this hot water line was burst too. So you can tell that is where that froze and broke. And obviously hot water shouldn't burst as easy, but you know, the power was off for 36 hours out here, so that's a problem. So this thing right here, this red thing, that's called a tubing cutter, and that cuts the copper, and then we put a shark bite on there, and then we put a piece of PEX, and then we put an end cap. And the reason we did it that way is because that's all that we had with us, because we've already been to Home Depot, and we're short on supplies. But hopefully this will get them so they're water fed. Okay, so I know it's difficult sometimes if I'm holding the camera, but I want to show you guys. So in this house, there was water pouring down through the ceiling, and so we took some of the ceiling back, and this is what a burst pipe looks like. Okay, so this is copper, and then when water freezes, it expands, and if it's in a contained area, then it will make a tear like that, and then water will come out. So we fixed one, and then we turned the water back on, and then there was another one up over in this other room, and so we fixed that, and then we turned it back on, and there was
another one.
Then there was another two, and so we bypassed the whole thing. We put a cap on it, and the cap looks like this, right? So this is just what they had at Home Depot because they bought everything out. But this will only go on PEX, and so you slide it on. This is what PEX looks like. You slide that on. It's a one-time though, and then you just push it in, and once it pushes in, then it grabs on. It's leak-free. So we had to cap part of that off, and they'll have to deal with that later. And then their hot water line and the other back in the first place was also broken. So there's
hot water line. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it was steam was coming off of it, but because the power was off for 36 hours, and it got down to below zero, then it bursted anyway. And hot water lines will cool a lot faster and freeze a lot faster than a cold water line will, because it's already losing heat anyway, and so because it's rapidly losing heat, it'll just rapidly lose heat until there's nothing left. I want to show you guys all my tools are on another job in Wills Point. And look, Nick, thank you so much for being awesome. And while I'm saying thank you to Nick, I just want to say thank you to everybody. This thing, everything froze over. I didn't expect it because I don't watch the news or anything. But everybody has been so nice. I probably had 12 people by now that have been like, hey, if you don't have power, come over to my house. You can crash out here. We'll feed you and everything. And I am just like, so very blessed by that. And I was like, I'm such a jerk, I would never think to do that. And so then instantly anybody else who needed help, I was like, I got power, please come over to my house, you can crash at my house, which still stands. So if you don't have power, by all means come over and I'll share my peanut butter and jelly with you. Okay, so anyway, all my tools are at Wills Point, and so we had to get something at Home Depot, and this was only $125 for all this stuff. Okay, so I got 100 feet of PEX, I got these tubing cutters, and you can get cheaper ones, but I didn't because I like nice stuff. And then I got PEX cutters, and then we got some fittings. So we got SharkBite couplings, and then we got these caps. So the way that this works, okay, let's say that your copper is messed up. You want to cut on either side of this. These things have an arrow on them, right? And so there's 1/2 inch, 3/4, and 1 inch. And you just snap this in there, and then start turning it the direction of the arrow like this. And so it's got like a carbide wheel in there, and it just cuts it right off, and it cuts it clean, and it kind of bevels it on the inside as well. And then a SharkBite will just slip right onto that and grab it, okay? And so what you gotta do is you gotta, like, you know, take a length this long, and you put a SharkBite coupling on one side and a SharkBite coupling on the other side, and then a piece of PEX in the middle. And the way that you cut the PEX is this just has a razor blade in there, and you just kind of, there's an arrow there too. You just put that in, and then pinch it, and then twist it around. This is a small piece, it's hard to do with a small piece, but that's what we did on this house. I've got some other neighbors that need some help, and so I'm gonna go see what I can do to help them out. I've got 3.
Yeah, check your house first.
Yeah, I've got 3 lines at my house that are frozen right now too, so we're gonna look at that. But everybody stay safe. Let's help each other out in this, and you know, let's learn to like love our neighbors ourselves, because that's important. All right, I hope that helps. All right. All right, so it's a little bit dark in here, but last night we got a call from one of our neighbors, and her pipe burst as well, and so it was very wet and very cold last night, and so we're gonna get up here and find out where this burst pipe is. So there's a copper line that comes across here, and there's another one back there, but sadly all my ladders are on another job far away, so I'm gonna have to climb up here and figure out what the problem is. But just so you guys know, you're not alone in this. Everybody's going through it, and we're gonna make it. Okay, so as you can see right there where that tear is in the pipe, that's where our leak is. So that's we're gonna cut that out, we're gonna fix it, and that'll fix that problem. There's also this problem right down here, which is not great. That's loose wires that are just dangling there next to a bunch of water. You can see there's black on it, so that's not great either. If you got that, then you know, fix it. All right, so this was not easy. We had to, at first this pipe was too big for a 1/2 inch, and then too small for a 3/4 inch. So we had to go way down the line and cut out probably 20 feet or so. But I got this side cut open, and you can tell that's solid ice in there, which is going to be challenging to get that to where we can get anything on there to fix it. So this took a minute. It's a little bit frustrating. So here's the problem that we had. Okay, let me show you. We had to take out a long piece of pipe. The pipe burst right here. You can see it. Come on, close over here, Mr. Camera Operator. Right there is where the pipe burst. Okay, so that's what they look like, and I've showed you guys a couple times. But here's the problem: is that people's phones never stop ringing whenever you can do stuff. So here's a 1/2 inch, and the 1/2 inch you can see won't fit on there, right? And then here's a 3/4 inch, and 3/4 inch is too big. Right, so we went up and down this thing. It was like, well, what size is this? And so I sent a video to my friend Mike Lowry, who I love. Mike Lowry is an amazing guy. I am not a licensed plumber. I'm doing this as a favor for my friend. And also I did another favor for my friend in the morning, and a lot of times I'll do this in county. Anyway, Mike is a licensed plumber, so if you want somebody that knows what they're doing, then Mike Lowry and Steve Lux are amazing guys. Anyway, I called him up, and he said that this probably got swollen is what it looked like, and so it swole a long way down the pipe. I don't know if you can tell, but way over here I had to cut, and then way down over there I had to cut. So it's probably about 20 feet of pipe that we cut out just so that we could get this one leak fixed. And so this is a Band-Aid on an axe wound in this house, because there's some other issues, but thank God that right now the water's back on and nothing's leaking, so hallelujah. Everybody's pipes are freezing. Obviously you're not plumbers, okay? And you should call a licensed plumber. But if your house is flooding, and 911's not getting there fast enough, because just remember that when seconds count, the police are just minutes away, and your house is flooding, and that's your greatest that's your greatest asset. Don't wait for them. Okay, so you're gonna find a black box that looks similar to this. This is your water meter. Okay, from your house, it's gonna be pretty close to the street somewhere. There'll be something like this. There should also be a green lid that's kind of close to your house, probably in your flower beds, and that usually has like a manual shut off or like another shut off. There should be one. There's not always, but there's usually one of these. Sometimes you have to have a different kind of a key, but nevertheless, these are smart meters, so they're wired. You can just they can drive by and read it. Okay, so now down in here, there's usually a it's difficult to see. That's where your meter is, right? But then there's this thing that looks like that. Okay, and so imagine that your pipe is like this, and there's a ball valve in it. And so if this is going this way with the pipe, then that means it's on. And if it's perpendicular to the pipe like that, then that means it's off. And so there's this tool right here, and you put that on there, and then you can turn it. I'm not going to do it right now because the water's off. You can turn it, and it'll be parallel with the pipe, and that means it's on. Or you turn it this way, and it'll be off. Now sometimes they got a positive stop. There'll be 2 holes, and once you line the 2 holes up, that means it's off, and that's so they can put a padlock in there if you don't pay your bill. So that's something to know. I've had a bunch of people all day long and for the last couple days like, hey, how do you do this? How do you do this? How do you do this? And so now that's how you do it, right? And then obviously, I'm not saying this for rank amateurs. I'm not saying this for old women or whatever. I don't want you to get in trouble. I don't want you to hurt yourself. But if you're semi-handy and you think that you can probably handle something like this, then that's what your water meter looks like. You want a tool like this, about $10. You can also get like pliers or anything else, but this is like way easier. And it's, like I said, $10 or $12 at Home Depot. I think Home Depots are closed right now, is what Jeremy just told me, because we've been there several times today. But stay safe, stay warm. If you don't have power, give me a call, come over to my house. I get extra bed. All right, bye. Hey, so I want to talk to you guys about loving your neighbor as yourself and why it's so important, right? So a lot of times we hear that, right? And we're like, yeah, I love my neighbor, like faraway neighbor. Like, you're in Africa, I want to give you some money, like a little bit, not much, not enough to hurt me. Or like, you're my neighbor, you're my friend or something. But I'm talking about like your next door neighbor. I'm talking about the people in your neighborhood. Obviously it goes beyond that, but that matters too. And I see a lot of people like, ooh, I don't want to talk to them, or my neighbor looked at me, it's time for me to move, or something like that. And I'm like, these people are around you, they can be a valuable asset, and you can be a valuable asset to them, and we need to love each other and help each other. So I want to tell you the story because I think it's very important. You see this white horse right here? Several years ago, probably, I think 9 years ago, something like that, my girlfriend at the time was outside my house at about midnight, and she said, babe, there's a horse that's crying. You want me to come in? So there's a horse that's screaming outside. I'm like, horses don't scream. And she's like, yes, this horse is screaming. And so I went outside and I listened. I'm like, see nothing. And after a minute, I was like, that sounds like a horse screaming. And I'd never heard it before. And so because I'm a worthless piece of human garbage, I'm like, all right, well, let's go to bed. We got to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's already past midnight. And she's like, we have to help this horse. I'm like, we don't have to help the horse. She's like, we have to help the horse because she's a good person, has a good heart, not like me. And so I'm like, all right. So we look around the neighborhood because a lot of people have horses in this neighborhood, and we walk around. And so there's a friend of mine that lived over in this house over here. You can point over there. That white house over there. And I'd met him once or twice, and I thought to myself, there's people walking around. I can see like silhouettes moving, so I'm not going to wake him up. So I knock on the door and I'm like, hey, but then it turns out he's gone and there's another neighbor there. And so I'm like, hey, look, I'm not trying to bother you. I know it's the middle of the night, but we heard a horse screaming. And he's like, whatever. And I was like, I know you have a bunch of horses, so maybe check on your horses. And he's like, yeah. He's like, basically, you don't know what you're talking about. Shut up, horses don't scream. And I'm like, that's what I thought too. Here's my business card. If you need something, then let me know. So we look around. After a while, he goes, I'm going to look too. And then finally we gave up because we couldn't hear anything. So we go to bed, and then I get a phone call like an hour later, and he says, you saved a life tonight. And it was that horse's life. And that horse had his face stuck inside of a water barrel, and it was drowning, and his back legs were stuck in a fence, and it was drowning. And so it would sit there like drowning for as long as it possibly could, and then push itself up and scream for its life, and then until it was completely exhausted, and then would go back down into the bucket, right? And so because she has a good heart, not me, and because James over here has a good heart and actually went and helped our actual neighbors, not far off neighbors, our next door neighbors, then that horse lived. And she was going through a really hard time at the time, and we were happy that we got to help. So fast forward a little bit, In 2014, I built a house 3 doors down from my house, and while I was doing that one, yeah, I got it. While I was doing that one, I posted pictures, and it turns out that this guy just shows up, and I'm like, how in the world? I haven't seen you since I was 16 years old. And he goes, yeah, well, I saw pictures, and I recognized the house because my aunt lives in this house around the corner. Well, it turns out that's Damian Patino. And if you guys have read my book or seen my video, then you know that when I was a drug dealer, when I overdosed and died and went to hell, that he was the one that cared about me, and he was the one that shared the gospel with me. And because of him, I'm a Christian. And so I owe my life to him, right? And it turns out that that is his aunt, and that is her horse. And so things kind of come around. So then fast forward a little bit longer, and he sells me the house across the street. And I'm like, okay, cool. And we tore that down a couple years back, and then we built another house that you guys have seen plenty of pictures of. And that's my friend Jeremy now lives there, and we've been friends for 28 years. And I love Jeremy. And the fact that he's my neighbor, I love it. In fact, he's filming right now. Well, then we ended up buying this piece of property back here, and that's the house I'm building right now. So hopefully I'm gonna have a friend that comes and lives in that house, which I absolutely love. And then because of James, he lives right there. And then he had a problem, and I ended up buying all that property, and I'm gonna subdivide it and let him stay in his house and sell that to him, but then subdivide that and make a bunch more houses so that I can have neighbors I love. Because I think it's important to love your neighbors yourself. And it's a valuable asset. And like Colby around the corner, his place was burned down a while back, and we helped out with that. And I love my neighbors. I just absolutely love my neighbors. And I think that if you are not taking time with your neighbors, you're robbing yourself. So anyway, that's that. Love you, bye.